As I often love to say, you gotta risk it for the biscuit, and I can't think of a bigger risk than taking two mammoths against the Chaos Dwarfs, especially when they've got 5 blunderbusses. Yet here we are with Cool Umbrella doing just that. He's got Wolfric up on a mammoth there, a War Shrine mammoth as well. We've got some marauders scattered around, of course. Looks like Famir warriors already selected, including some Miststalkers out on the far flank there. We've got a couple of Marauder Hunters also. For the Chaos Dwarfs, flying in is the Sorcerer Prophet of Fire. Very obvious choice in this matchup. We've also got a couple of Infernal Castellans, interesting. Some Laborers, both Orc and Goblin variety. Also an Iron Demon. And then, yeah, 5 Blunderbusses. A lot of short-range, high DPS gunfire here. So let's see what happens. It's going to be interesting, certainly. But one thing Norsca does have going for them immediately is they've got some trees here to try and fight kind of near and around to potentially block some of those shots. You can see that Cool Umbrella is also advancing on a relatively narrow front here, just looking to go straight in and take out some of these threats. No doubt we'll see some Laura boats, but yeah, a little bit of perhaps mistake here. Unfortunate for the Chaos Dwarf player. One of their blunderbusses does run forward a little bit there. Going to see some bombardment on this other one, forcing it out of position. Famir start to filter through, and I mean, Laborers are definitely not going to hold up well at all in this. I think Chaos Dwarf's lack of like real infantry here could potentially come back and haunt them. We'll see. Just depends on if the guns have time to fire or not, and they certainly do have a short time to fire here as the Infernal Castellans and the Iron Demon push the Mammoth away. Wow, look at the Iron Demon. Look at the torque on that thing, the horsepower, just to be able to push an actual mammoth. What a powerful little engine that can. Although the other mammoth comes collapsing from the other side, gets a nice little side charge in there to shut down those blunderbusses momentarily. Famir also following up, and with the marauders, it's just a lot of heavy armor-piercing units, so certainly the Dwarf blunderbusses, Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses have enough threats to deal with here, but Miststalkers taking some damage. The Famir do have some missile resistance, which significantly helps. 45% missile resistance means that likely these Miststalkers would have already been dead if they were a different monstrous infantry trying to attack here. The Famir don't have the best weapon strength in the world, but it's definitely okay. You know, it's okay. And the missile resistance, like I said, does come into play here. Physical resistance, magical damage, I should say, not so much. There's not a lot of physical resistance. But anyway, no Hunter of Champions as Wolfric duels it out here. I say Wolfric duels it out. It's really the Mammoth doing all the work. He's just like tapping the drums with his sword, or I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's doing up there, but it's unfortunately still not going particularly well for him. Vial of Hashut has been popped, so he's super weak to fire damage, and takes another big hit there. Let's see. Can he stabilize his leadership? The armor debuff also quite significant. I mean, not that there's a ton of non-AP damage here. It's primary armor piercing, but look at that swing and the miss on that fireball. Absolutely painful. That said, let's take a look at the rest of the battlefield here. The Chaos Dwarfs do have some forces rallying here, and it could potentially be dangerous, especially as these blunderbusses get out in space. So, oof, death embraces your lord. Yeah, looks like Wolfric does go down there. Damage that he had sustained earlier, just too much. The Iron Demon and the Sorcerer Prophet able to finish him off. Let's see, this Shaman Sorcerer of Metal now looking quite vulnerable to the Sorcerer Prophet. Gonna get a little breath attack in there. That won't be wildly effective. Probably would have been better used into this blob of marauders here, but that's okay. This other Mammoth over here is doing quite healthy and is able to keep a lot of these blunderbusses routed. This one here shut down, this one here shut down, that one is shattered. So there's really only one blunderbuss that's still reasonably healthy. So what it's going to come down to largely is the single entities. Now the Castellans, don't discount them. They're here just drowning in marauder bodies right now, but they're anti-large armor piercing. Also got armor piercing missiles. Of course, the caster also just gets absolutely destroyed for Norsca, just literally eaten into a pulp. Like, where did he go? Well, he's still there technically, but yeah, just gets completely clobbered by that Bale Taurus. Now, let's see. The leadership's not doing great, but terror is also a thing for Norsca, definitely, as they've got these Miststalkers that cause terror, this other Mammoth as well. We'll fast forward a little bit through this kind of mid-game cleanup as both sides chase routing units, try and consolidate their forces wherever they can. Surprisingly, these Marauders over here do manage to hold out for quite a long time, despite all these single entities fighting on top of them. Famir warriors do come to help, should be said. You're going to be able to synergize well with the Marauders here, actually, in the armor debuff, right? They have Sundered Armor, which is going to help. I mean, if Infernal Castellan's 120 armor down to 90, it's not going to make a huge difference, but there's a nice breath attack into that blob. Actually did a lot less damage to those Marauders than what I was expecting, but still they're going to get terrified away by the Iron Demon's charge there, and I think the Famir Warriors are likely to get terrified away, as well as the Bale Taurus lands on them. They're not immune to psychology. These ones that don't cause terror, obviously, so they are going to get routed off, but then the Mammoth and these Marauders finish chasing off most of the blunderbusses. They've shattered most of the troops in this area, so they can come around for a second engagement. We'll fast forward once again as both players kind of chase a little bit, reform ranks, try and get their units back together. That one Marauder Hunter there with a tiny bit of ammunition. The Marauder Hunters, I don't think, contributed a lot here. We'll see at the end card. I didn't really pay much attention to their value, to be honest, but that's okay. The focus is obviously on the Mammoths, guys. I mean, come on. They are Mammoths, after all, so there you go. Okay, so let's continue fast-forwarding here. Gonna have a couple more laborers shatter. So taking stock, this Mammoth still has a lot of HP, 12,000 HP plus. Not to mention Marauders looking pretty healthy here. I've got about 6,000 HP on those Famir Warriors. Now, on the flip side, on the opposite side, we've got about 4,500 on the Sorcerer Prophet there, 6,000 for the Iron Demon. The Infernal Castellans are about 2,000 apiece. Maybe a little over if you average them out, but let's see here what happens. Missile resistance will definitely come into play. Miststalkers do actually have stock, true to their name, so they can get in here relatively hidden. But let's see, this one relatively healthy Famir Warrior so far. Oh man, that just did quite a bit of damage, I think. Or no, it looked like it did. They're getting suppressed, they're taking the damage. What that means is these other units can get in here, and obviously the Mammoth is much more higher value than the Miststalkers. Even high value as they are, they're going to take the charge from the Iron Demon there. Mammoth is able to come in and obviously very easily break the Laborers. Mammoth in the room is too much for them to bear. Sorcerer Prophet, strangely enough, lands kind of with the Iron Demon in the back here. Not really sure why, but that is going to lead to him potentially getting 3... No, looks like the Mammoth actually goes after the Iron Demon. Good call. Cascading Fire Cloak on it. Buff its melee defense with a little bit more piercing damage. But, yeah, 3v1 or 4v1, the single entities for the Chaos Dwarfs should have a pretty good time here, I would think. The problem is that the Famir are definitely not pushovers. And even though only 31 melee attack, especially if they're in a surround, like they are here, with a nice burning head ripping those Marauders apart, the ones in the rear and side arc are going to be bypassing a certain amount of that melee defense. So they're able to actually get successive hits. And again, the armor debuffs, if there are Marauders around still, that will synergize with them once again. Down to 40 armor on the Sorcerer Prophet, which is fairly significant. So again, the Castellans, the Iron Demon will be a little bit less vulnerable, but still, especially when a unit's over 100 armor, the more you can bring them down below that, the better it gets, pretty much. The more damage is going to be real. But Marauders, obviously, superior troops to Laborers, and they're going to be supporting well in this engagement, but as things kind of play out here, curious to see how the Iron Demon can hold its leadership together. It's doing a pretty decent job right now. That Famir was healthy a minute ago, just took an absolute beating, but that means that all that damage didn't go into the Mammoth or the Miststalkers. Another nice burning head here, going to rip those Marauders down. Infernal Castellans, actually, do they have a way to heal themselves? Yeah, they do. Okay. I forget about this. Lifebane Blades. They actually do have passive regeneration while in melee. Completely forgot that item existed. That could actually change the math here as things get into the long game. Right now, it's looking fairly Norsca favored. I mean, Chaos Dwarfs haven't been able to form up their single entities effectively to fight as a group. This Iron Demon's just been running around the whole time, and, like, I kind of get it to a degree, but also, like, I don't know. Maybe it'd be tricky to try and maneuver them all together to where they're actually all fighting the same target, especially with this Famir. Again, things for the Chaos Dwarfs getting too spread out, and this Infernal Castellan just gets absolutely pummeled by Mammoths. The Famir are likely able to get him off the field. The physical resistance is going to be also significant in this late game, too. Don't discount the fact that this is actually a War Shrine Mammoth, right? So it's fully charged up, 20% physical resistance in an area of effect around it is not insignificant, and means that the damage that the Chaos Dwarfs are able to do is just going to be that much reduced. Castellans just get absolutely pounded, don't have enough HP to stand in an engagement like that, and that is going to twist things significantly in Norsca's favor. This War Shrine Mammoth just absolutely carrying, just straight up kills one Castellan, just finishes him off there. And a little bit of stutter stepping from the Sorcerer Prophet as he lands. He is going to terrify away this unit of Mirror Warriors, but one last engagement. Mammoth versus Winged Cow. I love this game sometimes. You actually stop and think about it like, yes, a flaming winged cow versus an actual woolly mammoth with extra spikes. It's just fantastic. Be honest, they both got extra spikes. It's Warhammer. Everything's got a big hat and extra spikes. But okay, now for the real final kaiju battle. The bumper cars to end them all. Iron Demon, we saw how much torque it had before. Will it be able to push the mammoth around this time? Nope. Stopped dead. And could you imagine being one of these crew bros right here? Like, POV on the crew right here as they, like, try and battle it out with this mammoth. Like, excuse me, sir. Oh, what a shot right there. Maybe I'll use that for the thumbnail. It's actually not going terribly for the Iron Demon, all things considered. That little, like, steam splash attack, kind of, that steam explosion looking, looks, it's a decent attack animation, because then it doesn't require, like, bumping up and moving around as much, like, say, the steam tank. Iron Demon's definitely the best of that sort of unit class, if you consider, like, steam tank, Doom Wheel, sort of those War Machine chariots. No question. This one's the best, but not good enough to beat a mammoth in melee combat. I mean, maybe, we'll see. It's actually taking a surprisingly long time to finish this thing off. How many melee attacks the mammoth's just whiffing there, but eventually it does get the job done. So there you go. Quite the finish there, but very well played to both players, honestly. John FB's build was interesting. I don't know. I mean, I guess volume has a quality of all its own, but it's interesting. I would think you'd want maybe at least one or two more heavier infantry to try and provide a little bit more of a backbone here, but I don't know. At the same time, don't hate the pick of the Castellans. They did okay, even if they didn't pay for themselves necessarily. Sorcerer Prophet's always going to be good. Iron Demon's always going to be good as well. The 5 blunderbusses was definitely a risk. Full Umbrella had the tools he needed to deal with it and played his cards right also. Did take some damage on Wulfric. Not too much to where it was absolutely backbreaking. Definitely could have costed him. But this other War Shrine Mammoth was able to just absolutely dominate. 207 kills, 3,675 damage value. Just spectacular. I mean, that physical resistance buff as well throughout the battle in the late game was super important too, right? The Famir do decently well. One of them actually, 1720 on the non-ROR. 236 kills. Not that much value on the Miststalkers, but you need to get those kills anyway. So the Terror, certainly essential. And then 800 values on Marauder, 166 kills. 10,000 damage dealt? Like, how? Like, I know they're fighting laborers, so I shouldn't be that surprised, but, like, that's impressive. That might be one of the best performances I've ever seen from a basic Marauder unit, which is, you know, see something new every day. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.